Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Today we want to continue again with chapter 26, Al-Shu'ara, the poets. As we stopped before the encounter between Moses and the magicians, and how the magicians, after they see the powers and how Moses, what he's showing to them is not magic, is basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's given him the power to do things which they could not by their magic mentality or magic education or magic teaching. They couldn't interpret that, they couldn't explain that. So it has to do and it had to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the kings of the heaven and earth. And from there, Moses, he gave them the background before that encounter. Who is Allah? Who is the creator? What did he do? And then at that point, they believed in the creator of the heavens and earth. And there no force. The Pharaoh tried to get them away, or tried to change their belief, tried to make them go back to their disbelief, but it's over for them. Even the Pharaoh killed them, crucified them, and chopped their hands and chopped their legs, but everything was already done. So throughout after this there was accusations, or the Pharaohs accusing Moses that he was in connection with the magicians, and they're basically making a story, or they're making, everybody's like basically have some kind of ties with each of them, and then they made that story in front of the public, so the Pharaoh will lose control. So accusation started against Moses. Accusation started against the Moses and the Israelites. And at this point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after a certain amount of time, Moses is keep doing da'wah, is keeping asking people to believe in Allah, to believe in the creator of the heaven and earth, try to preach. Because the primary purpose, the primary message of any messenger is to warn people about the hereafter, to warn people that there is a hereafter, there is accountability, there is a God. That's it. And do whatever God wants you to do on the tongue of the messenger. So after this, the magician, they died, and they have the hopes that God will definitely will erase their bad deeds and accept them in his paradise. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَسْرِ بِعِبَادِي إِنَّكُمْ مُتَّبِعُونَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after Moses did his preaching and so on and so forth, there was no effect. So Allah told him, go and leave Egypt, you and the Israelites. They were in estimation that the Israelites at that time was almost 600,000 of the Israelites were following with Moses. فَأَرْسَلَ فِرْعَوْنَ فِي الْمَدَائِنِ. So Fir'aun, initially, he wasn't going to pursue them, but after this, no, I'm losing now what? He's losing all this free labor. He has free labor, people who just eat or drink, and that's it. And they work in the fields, they work everywhere, they're building his monuments, they're building his castles, he's building all this for free. So you think he was going to lose all this free labor? So he brought and he invited in all the towns, he invited all the people, asking for people, soldiers, asking for people to come and fight with him and to follow the Israelites, to bring them back. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءَ لَشِرْذِمَةٌ قَلِيلُونَ. They're just basically a small group of people. Let's bring them. Small outcasts. Let's get them. وَإِنَّهُمْ لَنَا لَغَائِظُونَ. Indeed, they are irritating us. They're basically irritating us and enraging us. Let's bring them back. وَإِنَّا لَجَمِيعٌ. And everybody should be on alert. We have to go. We have to bring them back. فَأَخْرَجْنَاهُمْ. They left what? They left their fields, their rivers, the gardens. Egypt at that point was full of fields, full of gardens. There's a lot of crops. It was very flourishing over there because of the river Nile, which they had. وَكُنُوزٍ. They have a lot of treasures. وَمَقَام, and a good status. They had in the palaces, they having, everything was made easy for them. So they left all of this to get Musa. And that is Pharaoh and the Pharaoh and all these Egyptians, they didn't understand that this is what their end. كذلك وأورثناها بني إسرائيل. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, I change, I give kingship to whoever I want. Now, this amount of money, all of these things, Egyptians and the Pharaoh have lost. And I will give them later to the Israelites. We know that Israelites, when they went to Palestine and went to Jerusalem, and they had the big empire at the time of Solomon and time of David, they owned a lot of fields. They owned a lot of fields and a lot of rivers and a lot of things. Then the Pharaoh, the Moses and his followers left at night. Then the Pharaoh in the morning, they went after them. فَلَمَّا تَرَاءَى الْجَمْعَانِ. This is very exceptional verse. Why exceptional verse? Because at this point, this is for everybody. This verse is not just for Moses. Again, these stories, these things, we need to take Allah is not bringing those verses or not stories in the Quran just for the entertainment. It is just to take lessons from them. And one of these lessons is whenever you reach to your bottom, whenever you reach to and think like the things is impossible gonna happen, things is definitely, in any way, call upon Allah. Call upon Allah. Call upon Allah. Call upon Allah. Ask Him for help. Don't be helpless. Don't feel despair. Don't. Why? Because Allah is there and Allah, His help can come at any minute. That's very important to understand. This is the same situation of the followers of Moses. Pharaoh, they saw the pharaohs, the troops of the Pharaoh behind them. They saw the sea is in front of them. And then they said what to the Pharaoh? Inna la mudrakun. Wow, they're gonna come and get us. There's no way to go anywhere. قال كلا. He said no. Why? He said no, because he said, I have God with me. God, He took me and He took me through all of this difficulty. You think He's not going to take care of us? And He's the one who ordered me to bring you guys out. You think He's not? And that's just what we have to believe until the last minute in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah sees you. That's why the worst thing a person can do and the worst thing which make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unhappy of a person is a sin, the disobedience, sinning. So you have to be watching that, to be watch over yourself, and Allah watch you all the time. Inna فَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى. So inna ma'i Rabbi. He said, I have my Lord with me. I'm not worried. He's telling this to who? The Israelites. And this is the belief of the believer. If the believers have that belief, they won't be easy tempted with this life. فَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ اضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْبَحْرَ. We also told Moses, use your staff and hit the sea. فَانْفَلَقَ. Then the sea, which was water, it became land. It became land, and فَانْفَلَقَ فَكَانَ كُلَّ فِرْقٍ كَالْطَوْدِ الْعَظِيمِ. And then like mountains, between the pieces of mountains in between that land. وَأَزْلَفْنَا ثَمَّ الْآخَرِينَ. And we brought the other people. Who were the other people? The Pharaoh and his followers, his troops. We brought them to the same spot. Now the Israelites have passed and the Pharaoh's coming to the same area. And then what happened?